On behalf of the Board of Studies of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and on my personal behalf, I extend a very warm welcome to each and every one of you for this online mentoring session. Dr. Ruchi Gupta, who is also a faculty member of the Board of Studies relating to strategic management, is with me. Both of us will present to you an overview of the first two chapters of the strategic management subject, namely the business environment, and the second part is business policy and the strategic management. As far as your the online mentoring system is concerned, you may be aware that whatever we are providing you the input, this is in addition to this, whatever the institute has committed in the study materials and as well as the practice manuals and other relevant literature which the institute is publishing for the benefit of the students from time to time. As far as the disclaimer is concerned, we would like to mention that this lecture has been delivered by us and as a supplement to the study material and practice and other discount. And the content of this video lecture has not been specifically discussed by the Council of the Institute or any of its committees, and the views expressed by us may not be taken to necessarily represent the views of the Council or any of its committees. And a similar way, we request you to regularly keep in touch with the Students Learning Management portal at the http studentslms.org, and the students are advised to refer the study materials, including supplementary study material, if any, and other relevant legislation wherever it is applicable for latest provisions, amendments required for the forthcoming thing. So the first part, we are moving towards that business environment. Just some introductory remarks before handing over the proceedings to Dr. Ruchi Gupta. See, the complexities of the business has tremendously increased. Gone are the days where the business enterprises are run by a sole proprietorship or partnership or even a limited companies. Now we are talking about the multinational companies, public sector undertakings, transnational entities, and even we are talking about the supranational enterprises where the business entities performance is affecting the entire society, entire nation's gross domestic product. So accordingly, gone are the days where every organization, number of organizations are working in a monopolistic way. Nowadays, every business you take, there is a perfect competition where the customers are considered to be the king, and all these the business management functions are revolving around the customers. In this backdrop, we will take you towards the business environment. Dr. Ruchi.
Dear students, today we are living in a dynamic environment. Totally, the movement of business gets globalized. So according to that, the business environment especially, is very dynamic, and we are going to discuss related to whatever the environment related changes during the business. We are going to discuss all these things in this topic. The learning objectives of this topic, or we can say the chapter, is understand the term of business and its objective, their factors, how to analyze the environment, because it is very important to analyze the environment. Without analyzing, we are not able to visualize the futuristic things. Then in this chapter, we also discuss what are the environmental factors which affects, basically broadly the two factors, the micro factors as well as the macro factors in comparison to the competitive environment. Each business organization, as Dr. Paramasivan also told you, that each business organization operates in different form. Every organization has its unique environment, and the environment influences businesses all together. No business can function similar. No business is synonym to each A business is basically, in legal terms, we can say a business is a legally recognized organization designed to provide goods and services, or it may be both, to the consumers or uh, the business territory in exchange for money. That means in exchange of money, only the business will run. As Peter F. Drucker has also shows some uh, Peter F. Drucker has also drawn two important conclusions related to the business. That is, the first one is that business is created and managed by people. Business is nothing but it is created and regulated and managed by the people. The second conclusion drawn by the Peter F. Drucker is that it cannot be explained only in terms of profit. There are some other objectives which are related to business.
Yes, Dr. Ruchi, like once in the initial stages of business, initial stages of the philosophy of the business, the philosophy was the earn maximum profit. So the maximum profit means there is an element of exploitation. The businesses can charge excess money, excess price on the customers, wherein earning lot of profit. But nowadays we are in the era of governance, wherein we have to manage the interest of various interested groups, popularly known as stakeholders. That is why you have rightly pointed out the business cannot be concluded, but the objective of business cannot be concluded in terms of profit. It is much beyond that profit. Like some authors are mentioning emerging, the wealth maximization is another important objective of a business, wherein the wealth maximization reflects that the business has conducted its affairs in such a way that all the stakeholders' interest has been balanced. So balanced way of conducting the affairs of the business will lead to wealth maximization of the persons who are behind the business enterprises. Yes.
Correct, sir. On that pattern, there are some objectives of a business. The very first objective of a business is survival. Everybody wants to survive. The very first objective, as and when the idea came in the mind to start up a business, the very first objective is to survive. How to survive in the environment, how to do it as long as possible. Then stability. Stability is again a very important objective of the business, because every business enterprises wants stability in market. Then growth. Growth, naturally, it is but natural that growth is also one of the important objective of the business. Then efficiency. Business enterprises seeks efficiency in rational choosing appropriate means to achieve whatever the objectives, whatever the goals you have set it for that. To achieve these goals, we need efficiency with effectiveness by utilizing the resources, whatever the resources you have in the business, utilize these resources and achieve the objectives to get the highest productivity. And the last is profitability. It is generally asserted, as Dr. Paramasivan already told you, that it is generally said that the business is meant for profit, but it is one of the objective of business, but not only profit is the objective of business. So these are the 4-5 objectives of business, as already told, and I'm transferring to sir.
See, as far as whether it is a survival, whether it is a stability, or whatever the growth potential is concerned, yes, I was mentioning, the gone are the days where the businesses are undertaken in a monopolistic manner, wherein only one seller and there will be number of buyers. Nowadays, every industry, every segment of business is considered to be a perfect competition. Whether you are starting a new business, a new entirely new line of business, there is an uncertainty whether your product or services will be accepted or not. or when you are entering a new market. Say, for example, today you are in a mobile telephone industry. If a new establishment, a new organization comes in and wants to establish its mobile telephony services, you can imagine the level of competition yes of now, whether it is Airtel, Vodafone, BSNL, whatnot. So the entity which is entering into the business, first and foremost concern is survival. Then once they are able to survive, obviously they will be focusing on stability and the growth, because no organization will be interested to maintain a stagnant path in its way, because every stakeholders of its business will be anticipating certain growth, like a human being is growing from a child to an adult, like that. A business enterprise will also want to grow in terms of its performance, in terms of its reach, in terms of customers. That is why it has been amplified by Dr. Ruchi that a number of objectives are there in establishing a business enterprise.
Then what environment influences on business? Environment is basically, I already told you that it is a sum of external and internal forces which affects businesses. The functioning of businesses totally depend upon the forces, internal forces such as suppliers and you can say consumers and intermediaries, marketers. And what about the external forces are like the demographic changes, the geographical change, the political changes, cultural changes. So these all the forces affects the business. Different organizations use different inputs, different types of inputs, so that they can be able to give different kinds of outputs. In input-output exchange activity, it is a continuous process and it always affected by the external environment.
In other words, Dr. Ruchi, what we want to mention is an environment, a business entity gets some inputs, processes those inputs and delivers to its customers by way of a product or services. So the entire, whether in terms of getting the inputs or processing the inputs or delivering the goods and services, the environmental forces plays an important role. Each and every aspect of this input, processing and output are being influenced by the environmental factors. As you have rightly pointed out, there are certain external factors and there are internal factors. These factors influences the value addition and the value conversion and the product or services delivery of an organization.
As the problems in understanding the environmental influences, as I told you that what influences the environment, that is external and internal forces. But how we know that the influences are getting and what kind of problems we are facing? To understand these problems, what we can do is diversity. Diversity is in nowadays in the globalized world, diversity is very, very important, which influences the environment. Because on account of diversity, there are so many listing of conceivable environments, influences may not be possible. Secondly, uncertainty. Future is totally unpredictable, totally uncertain. So to minimize the uncertainty, we can only make some provisions for that, but we are not 100%. We are not 100. We cannot do 100% certainty in the business. It is very difficult to predict the future, their external influences, their internal influences. We will try our level best. The manager should try to minimize the uncertainty. The next point is complexity. Again, the business is dynamic as well as it's very, very complex. There are so many things on which we have to focus, and accordingly we should do the work with environmental influences.
So, like Dr. Ruchi has mentioned, that the diversity, when we are talking about the diversity, even in terms of a country to country, the environment will differ. Within the country, like in a country like India, the between one state to another state, the environment, the business environment differs. We are not talking about the physical environment, climatic conditions. We are talking about the conditions of doing business, the environment in which business enterprises have to conduct their businesses. Similarly, within a state, there are a number of demographic characteristics, societal values, consumer preferences, so on and so forth. So, for example, a state like Maharashtra, it is dominated by cities like Mumbai or something. And there are certain states wherein it is predominantly occupied by urban, that is rural people. So this diversity makes a challenging proposition as far as the environmental understanding of the organization is concerned. Because when an organization comes and sets up its business, it cannot restrict itself to a particular segment of a society or nation or a country. So it has to address to the entire nation. So, for example, an Indian Oil Corporation is providing liquefied petroleum gas services. We cannot say in Ladakh I will adopt a different marketing strategy, in Kanyakumari I will adopt a different marketing strategy, in Mumbai I will adopt a different strategy, because we have to understand the environment, we have to provide the services to the customers. Similarly, the uncertainty in the sense, it is since the environment, the business is always aimed to act in future is always uncertain. Whatever best we can do, actually the environment may change. What we have predicted, it may be realized realities or may not be realized realities. That is what future is uncertain. And the complexity, as I have explained, whether in terms of demographic characteristics, consumer preferences. Say, for example, today no mobile can be sold without the WhatsApp facility. WhatsApp software facility, because we are talking about the mobile telephony, wherein the young generation wants to have lot of facilities in the mobile telephony, wherein the old type of mobile phones, though they are having the same facilities like mobile value as well as SMS facilities and other things. Now the young generation wants a lot of facilities in the mobile facilities. So that is why the complexities, the taste and preferences are differ, which will make this that environment very influence is very difficult. To the next point.
Next problem is framework to understand the environmental influences. What the environment influenced by, how to frame that. In that case, it is useful to take an initial view of the nature of the organization environment in terms of how uncertain it is. That is again a part that how uncertain it is. Since, as Sir is taking the example of mobile industry, so I am going with that. Nowadays, it is very tough. Just remember that just 3-4 years back or more, Nokia is the company which is very, very prominent in Indian markets. But as now we are working on Android software, so Nokia is almost no more. Even Microsoft, I suppose that the Microsoft has purchased the Nokia, but it shows in our balance sheet as a bad debts nowadays. But can you imagine that just 3-4 years back, Nokia was one of the best mobile company, but now it is no more.
Similar is the case in every industry. Say, for example, now the oil industry also, the car manufacturing, passenger thing, and even whichever industry means, it is so dynamic, so uncertain. So that is where making the environmental influences of the business, not only to this mobile telephony. We have taken a live example because our students will be most comfortable with the mobile instrument. That is why we have taken the example of a mobile instrument. So when you are going for any industry, these challenges remain the same. So only that is where professional That is where the professionals like chartered accountants are having a role to play in modern business enterprise. Yes, next.
There is a question of a student. Give some high marking strategy in SM paper. Good question. And for that, there is no strategy. One has to work hard. This is the only strategy to get, not only in the strategic management paper, even in any paper or in any examination in your life, one has to do hard work. There is no shortcut, no other alternative except to do hard work for getting success. As sir also,
To put it to supplement Ruchi's answer, students, first you have to be familiar and command over the each and every topic, subtopic of this syllabus as well as the study materials. The study materials, as I have been repeatedly mentioning in our e-lecturing thing, study materials means the entire literatures made available to you, like study materials, practice manuals, revisionary test papers, mock test, and so on so forth. Which means basically it is a professional examination. Professional examinations requires a lot of hard work and focus. You cannot be a selective reading. You cannot be selective reading. More importantly, all these theoretical knowledge, you should always look for a practical examples, practical application oriented knowledge you would require. So the strategy for getting high score of examination will be two-pronged. One is be complete command over the syllabus and the study materials and whatever the literatures made available. And the second one is you make your knowledge application oriented. Though the examination department will not ask any case study pattern question as far as the strategic management is concerned, it will always element of application oriented. Yeah, we thought that we should give these tips in the end. Just it has been raised. I am telling you, you refer the previous year questions and the compilations. There are major number of questions are application oriented. You cannot last 2 or 3 weeks. Some of the students are having the strategy of cramming the study materials, cramming the this practice manual, and anticipating a good marks or comfortable position in the examination. No. Cramming the examination will never test your cramming capabilities. It will always test your working knowledge on the strategic management. These two strategies, one has to be very much familiar about this thing. You should have this conscious in your view. Let us complete our presentations and we will come back to you with other queries. Yes, Doctor.
now the question raises in your mind that why the environmental analysis, why we need to study the environment and why we analyze the environment. Generally, to know what forces are there which affects your environment, for that you required environmental analysis. Just to know what is going in the current and what you want for the future. These all are the things which we should take in mind while we are analyzing the environment. Secondly, what kind of strategic decisions you are going to take. Environmental analysis provides you the inputs while you are taking the strategic decisions. Strategic decisions are those decisions which are major decisions. On behalf of that decisions, the organization or the business will run. Thirdly, we require environmental analysis just for foster strategic thinking in the organization. There are the characteristics of business environment, as we already discussed. I'm just going at a glance. That environment is very complex, it's dynamic, multifaceted, and it is far-reaching impact. The impact of environment is far-reaching. That's why it is required to analyze the business environment while you are doing any business. What are the components? As I already told you that there are basically the we broadly divide the components of business environment in two parts. These are the external one and the internal one. Internal, which is within the organization, and external includes outside the organization. Like as you already studied SWOT analysis, in that SWOT there are 4 things: strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So opportunities are always outside, but threats are internal. Our weaknesses are internal. Our strength is external.
Just to supplement Dr. Ruchi's observations, the business environment is an external environment and internal environment, because external in the sense the business has to adjust to its external environmental forces, because external environment provides you the opportunities and also gives the threats, poses the threats for an organization. Whereas the internal environment, the organization is having a command, it is having a controllability on this internal environmental forces, which will give it some sort of strength, and some of the factors of internal maybe weakness also. Say for example, location of a plant, its employee strength, its employee level of knowledge, all those things either can be a strength or weakness. So the controllability of the factors determines whether they are external or internal. Over to Doctor.
So the next topic is relationship between organization and its environment. What is the relation between organization and environment? First is exchange of information. Second, exchange of resources. Third is exchange of influence and power. Now we will go by the micro and the macro environment. As I already told you, that micro environment consists of suppliers, consumers, intermediaries, market intermediaries, those which can be controlled to some extent by utilizing the resources. But macro environment consists of those factors which we have no control on it, like demographic changes, economical conditions get changed, socio-cultural factors, political changes, some political, some legal, some government policies if some government policy will come, then you have to change accordingly. As I'm giving you the latest example of Delhi, as the government has taken the initiative just 15 days back, it is completed from 1st January to 15th January that the diesel cars are not exempted, and they can come only on odd and even days, but the CNG is exempted to come on 1st to 15th January. That means that the diesel cars have little or we can say have major impact on the registration and all for that. Some technological development changes, like you can say immediately, as I already told you that earlier there was some other software, but nowadays the Android is working on all the mobile phones. It has taken all the market. These are the technical changes. For that, sir wants to...
Yes, sir, the micro, Dr. Ruchi, that micro environment, we can say it is a little bit internal environment. Yes, yes. And the macro environment is the external environment, the constituents of this macro environment. Yes, you have pointed out the government policies like nowadays we are talking about the Green Tribunal. We are talking about the Green Tribunal, which prohibits registration of diesel cars or diesel vehicles in Delhi, and we even for setting up of plants and in various areas, it is coming out with lot of advices on environmental protection, because nowadays the country and the whether it is a central government or state government, they're all more concerned about the environmental protection and the promotion. So whatever you business you are doing, you have to ensure that the impact, the environmental impact, that is physical environmental impact, is very, very less. So these are all some examples of micro and macro environment, and we can go move forward for the next topic.
There is a query. What is the difference between entrepreneur and industrialist? It is by
Mutiala Rao. There was one student, Mutiala Rao Malla. He wants to know about the difference between an entrepreneur and an industrialist. See, for us, the entrepreneur and the industrialist, the role of both of them are the same. Maybe an entrepreneur may be in a smaller way, or industrialist, he may be in a very big area of operation. That venture which he is looking forward is in bigger when compared to entrepreneurship. In as far as the role and the responsibilities which the individual is playing, whether it is as an entrepreneur or industrialist, will remain the same. He has to locate the inputs, and he has to ensure that processing, like as I mentioned, any enterprise operations, inputs are collected, it has to be processed, and it has to be delivered by way of an output, whether by way of goods and services. Maybe an entrepreneur, he may have a new idea. Then he may have a new idea, so he wants to implement that new idea for the benefit of the society, for the benefit of his own development. So yeah, he will be an entrepreneur. He will establish an enterprise which will convert his ideas into a business model. Whereas an industrialist, he is in a very compared to entrepreneur, his gamut, his area of operation is a little bit bigger. So he may be an experienced gentleman. Also, he is already in the field. So he is already established his goodwill, his name and fame as an industrialist. So he may be looking forward for establishing a diversification or backward integration or forward integration for developing his business. So the basic initiative and the functions remain the same, whereas the scales may be different between an entrepreneur and an industrialist. Yes, next.
now there is a term environmental scanning. Why we require environmental scanning? What is it? Basically, environmental scanning, it is a process which organization monitors their relevant environment to identify opportunities and threats affecting their business for the purpose of taking decision making. While taking the decision, the company should go through the environment. Scanning is nothing but to know, to filter the things so that they can able to take the good decision, right decision for the future. Now the elements of microenvironment, as we discussed, there are so many elements: consumers, competitors, organizations, market, suppliers, consumers are the most important element in microenvironment, because without consumer, there is the existence of business becomes a question mark. So according to the consumer's taste, their desire, their buying habits, this all depends on the business environment. Next is competitors. Competitors, again, there are so many competitors in the market, and every businessman, every competitor shows his competence in the market. So while doing the business, we should always alert with the competitive environment. Organizations, several organizations have no specific elements, and several have some specific groups, like just like you can say that Mercedes is doing business for a particular segment. They are not making cars for a middle class or a low class segment people. They are working for only high class, like Lamborghini and all. They all work for different segment. So we should careful that in which segment we are going to organize our business.
The organization that also includes the top management, the workers, and the middle management, because the philosophy of top management, the work culture of middle management, and the job profile and the efficiency profile of the employees will also influence the functioning of the organization, leading to either weakness or strength. So that is why the organization containing the various groups involved in the organization.
Next element is market. Again, I already discussed this, that market is very, very important, that whether in our business or in our industry, we are in a growing phase or we are going to decline. If we are in a declining phase, then we have to take the turnaround strategies. There are so many. What are the key success factors on basis of which we can change our strategy? So market is also important. Then suppliers, no doubt in it. If there is no input, then output, how the output can come. So suppliers are also one of the important factors. But above all, there is one more, market intermediaries, who provides the goods to the last consumer, to the consumer, from input to output. Whatever the intermediaries like wholesalers or retailers, these all are also the important factors. Above all, we can say, but the micro factors, to some extent we can control these factors by utilizing our proper resources. There are, now we are going to discuss the elements of macro environment. As I already told you, that macro environment is the environment on which we have no control. First is demographic environment. Demographic environment means that we are living in a, nowadays we are in the globalized world. So every country has different kind of requirements. Even in the same country, like we are talking about our country, then there are different kind of environment. It might be possible that today in northern region of our country, India, there is some festival. Might be possible that in southern there is different festival, or there is age profile, age gap. As sir already mentioned that today the youngsters are more interested in the mobile phones and mobile phone applications. The income group also major segmentation, that to what extent people want to spend on what products, growth rate of the business, education is also important. There are so many factors. Everybody, since every person has different perspective, different future length, so they have to take the decision accordingly.
So, for example, Dr. Ruchi, as students may note, so for example, in case countries like United States, where the economy is consumption oriented, to some extent, the Indian economy is savings oriented. Nowadays, the every effort is being taken to divert the savings into consumption, so that the country will develop. So the our demographic characteristic in terms of education, race, checks, and the income level, all those things focuses on, we are always conservative. Indians stamped as a conservative. They always compromise on their lifestyles or life facilities to earn that save money. So these are all some issues which the organization has to consider, because we always bargain hunters. Even at the cost of compromising certain facilities, we may go for lower investment or lower outflow. All those things will come under this demographic characteristic.
The next one is Economic environment, again the money part, we can say to what extent. If suppose nowadays I am earning 20,000, so now it is my budget, what kind of expenditures I want to do, what is my priority list while spending the money. Then manpower, how much the manpower requirement, raw material, what is the cost of the inputs, raw material costing, quality. Then political, as I already discussed you, that government, if the government will change any policy for the future, then every businessman has to follow this. There are some legal implications on it, so we should also consider the legal implications. Then political pressures, if any kind of political pressure comes, the thing which is hits is the business. Then socio-cultural environment, as you all of us know that we are living in a country where a lot of cultural activities are going on and will go and go. So everybody has different tastes, different preferences, and different cultural values. We should different beliefs, different values while taking any kind of business decision. We should think about that, and accordingly we should take the strategic decisions.
So for example, students, the concept of investment in gold and ornaments, these are all unique to Indian society. So for example, the concept of the family car, it is a small car, as Ruchi has mentioned. Some organizations which are targeting the high-end consumer segment may feel very limited market in a country like India. Though we are having 130 crore people are around, the majority of the demographic characteristics are the environment, social, cultural environment. If you see, they will always start with a family car, small family car. Then afterwards, when their comfort level, their family commitments are improved, they may go for higher end cars like that. Not at the level of very expensive cars like that, because as I have mentioned, they are always conservative. So these are all the socio-cultural influences on the management or the organization, which we have to take into consideration. Yes.
Then the next point might be the technical environment. We should, everybody knows that technical environment also affects the business. As I already mentioned, one of the upcoming example of Nokia and mobile phones. You can take the example of laptops. In all these things, mobile phones, in all these things, the technology is growing at a vast pace, and accordingly, the product which is nowadays is a hot cake, might be possible that within a year or two, it will become obsolete from the market. Since we are living in a high-tech society, in a high-tech world, so while doing the business, a businessman should always learn from the technology.
For supplementing to make the students more understanding about the concept. Say, for example, the number of ATMs, automatic telling machines in the banking sector. When before 10 years or 15 years, having an ATM is luxurious for a banking organization. But nowadays, the banks are charging money on the customers who physically go to the banks. Such is the level of the reach of ATMs. The number of ATMs are far more greater than the number of physical branches. That is the level of technological change, because people don't have the time and the wherewithal to go to the bank branch. So any banking company, without adopting the technology, nowadays we are talking about the internet banking. Internet banking without today a bank cannot survive in the financial services industry in India without having that computerized banking services, the internet banking facilities. So when the technology is affecting the functioning like this way. I'm giving one small example.
One
like
more
this.
example is online shopping. I think students must aware about it.
Flipkart, Amazon,
So
whatever you call.
This kind of
nowadays,
technology change definitely more or less affects the retail market. Right, sir? Am I right?
yes, you are absolutely right, Doctor. Go ahead.
Then global environment. The global environment can also change the business environment, the macro environment. Like if, as you might be remember that in 1991 in India, the liberalization policy comes. Then after only the the MNCs will able to come in India. This is also a major factor while you are working on the environmental analysis.
In other words, to an organization, whether they are in India or abroad, they have to see the world as its market. That is the impact of globalization. Gone are the days wherein your scales of operation, area of operation, and all those things are limited to a particular place. Now the entire world is your marketplace. It is a necessity rather than it is a compulsion rather than a choice for an organization. That is what we want.
Now this is pestle analysis. Time is moving, so we should little bit fast. Pestle analysis then are political, economic, socio-cultural, technological, legal, and environmental factors. This is also one of the analysis by which we can analyze the environment. Then strategic responses to the environment. That what kind of strategic responses we get from the environment, since that it is difficult to determine the responses, that what kind of responses we will get from the environment. If it is possible, then there is no problem. Every business can achieve our targets. But just to know that how the environment respond during the strategies, in that case, organizations have to follow some approaches like
a small supplementary point. This environmental responses to the environment, you have to see from the business enterprise side. Environment is not going to respond to organization. The organization has to respond to the environment. The environmental, environmental forces, the environmental scanning process. Now, after environmental forces, after environmental scanning, how the business enterprise is responding to the environment. Yes, Dr. Ruchi has mentioned, the environment gives you the threats, environment gives you the opportunities. So that is where the responses of the organization is coming to an environment, which is the gist of this strategic management. Yes, next.
Next is to know about more on that topic, that least resistance. Some businesses just manage to survive by way of coping with their changing external environment. They are least resistance. They are simply goal maintaining units. They don't want to change. Now, then proceed with caution. Always be careful while you are growing, while you are expanding your business. Always monitor the changes in the environment timely, because if the time, once the time goes, once the environmental changes, drastic environmental changes gets in the business environment, it is very difficult to overcome with this. So we should always take a close watch on the environmental changes to maintain their stability, to maintain their survival and strength. Then dynamic response at a still higher sophisticated level are those businesses that regard the external environment forces as partially manageable and controllable by their actions. As I already told you that the macro environment cannot be controlled by us, but we can partially manage. I am saying partially manage it if we have a close watch on the environmental changes. Then competitive environment. We are living in a competitive age. There are so many sellers, there are so many manufacturers for a particular product. In this competitive world, we require proper watch, we just know that what the market wants from us, what kind of rate growth it is, what kind of income distribution. Businesses have to consider competitive strategies very, very carefully. What are the profit levels, what are the costs, from where we can procure the inputs, from where we can procure the raw materials, suppliers at minimum cost. Now the age is with maximum profitability with minimum costs. The consumer will simply switch off to those products which are at minimum cost. Then Porter's 5 forces model. This is a model, and we should go with this model. There are 5 forces. Porter's has defined 5 forces. This model holds that the state of competition in an industry is a composite of competitive pressure. That means there are 5 competitive pressures which operates the overall market. What are these? Industry competitive pressure. First is rivalry among existing firms. There are so many firms who are working in their environment. First is, what are the rivalry firms? They will pressurize you to minimize your costs or provide better things to the customer. Second force is buyers. That means consumers. They have a bargaining power. Consumers has always a bargaining power. So the person who is selling the products at minimum cost and providing best to the consumers, they will purchase that one. Then suppliers. Suppliers also one of the important factor. If they will not provide us the inputs on nominal charges, then we are not able to sustain in the market. So suppliers has again the bargaining power. Then potential new entrants. Competitive pressure is always with the new rivals. It can be possible that because the market is open, anybody can come and do the business. So we should always alert with the new rivals. Then firms in other industries suffering substitute products. There are a lot of products in the market. We should be careful that if we are not able to justify the consumer, they can immediately go choose substitute products. Now the question is, what are the substitute products? Instead of that, you can use another one. Like I can take the example of mobile phone. If you are not able to get the mobile phone of that particular company, immediately the consumer will go and shift to some other product, some other company. So this is all about the Porter's model. Then now we will start the second chapter, that is business policy and strategic management. Come to
yes, Ruchi. Yes, sir. The second part is concerned that it deals with the business policy and that is strategic management. And as far as the learning objectives are concerned, the students are aware about the learning objectives of this second thing. And what is a business policy? A business policy is a study of functions and responsibilities of senior management. The business policy you study the responsibilities of senior management and the crucial problems that affect the success in a total enterprise and the decisions that determine the direction of the organization and shape its future. The problems of policy in business, like those of policies in public affairs, have to do with the choice of purposes. That is more important. The business policy aims at choice of purposes, molding of organizational entity, identity, and the character. Like we are talking about the vision and the mission, and the continuous definition what needs to be done, like a strategy, and the mobilization of the resources for the attainment of goals in the competition and the adverse competition. That is the business policy. And what is the business policy provides? This business policy tends to emphasize on the rational, analytical aspect of strategic management, because business policy provides the basic ingredient or the framework for strategic management, which is the most important and the subject matter of our paper. And it is also, as I was mentioning, present the framework for understanding strategic decision making, because they give the framework within which the strategic decisions has to be taken. Say, for example, a credit policy, an organization can prescribe a credit policy wherein depending upon the age of the customer, depending upon the experience of the customers, you may like to give the credit period, maybe 15 days or 30 days or 45 days, which means a strategy of providing more than 45 days credit cannot simply work out, because the business policy is maximum credit is 45 days. Similarly, that framework, this policy, the business policy enables the person, because strategic management is nothing but managers, human beings. So they are having a general management responsibilities. So this business policy will aid them to make proper preparations and handling of general management responsibilities. So if a manager takes a decision beyond the business policy of an organization, he is taking a risk of getting the wrath from the management. That is the idea of business policy.
Policies are basically meant for future.
So that because it is a framework. It is what you call it is for existing as well as future. When you are taking a decision, that decision, or if you are taking adopting a strategy, that strategy has to be within your business policy of the organization, because business policy of the organization may differ from one organization to another organization. I am giving you some practical examples for the students. Say, for example, Tata Motors, it is giving a quality policy. It gets mentioned in its website. This is the quality policy. Similarly, the environmental policy of Tata Motors. Similarly, the safety and health policy of the Tata Motors, wherein the internal environment, the working conditions of the employees has to be maintained, because they are talking about the injury-free organization. So, in order to maintain an injury-free organization, what is the plant layout? What is the inflow of the employees? How they will operate? And if there is any exigencies, how it will be managed, all those policies will be established, because just for the, say, for example, when an organization says that this is the environmental policy, that the strategies and the decision making has to be in line with this environmental policy. That is the idea. And coming to this strategy, it is a most important component of our subject matter itself, because strategy means a game plan, a management using to take market position, conduct its operations, attract and satisfy its customers, compete successfully, and achieve organizational objectives. It is a methodology. It is a methodology, game plan of the management. It is the methodology which it is going to adopt for market position, because as Dr. Ruchi has mentioned, survival, development, profitability, growth, all those things have to be attracted. In the same way, you have mentioned that the customer is the king. How you are going to attract the customers and satisfy the that customers. Similarly, you have mentioned that 5 forces of competitions are there. How you are going to manage the competitions successfully and achieve organizational goals? Unless you manage all these endeavors, you cannot achieve the organizational endeavors. That is the strategy. Similarly, it is a unified design and action. It is a design and action for achieving major goals and the command over the situation and long range perspective, securing a critically advantageous position. Because when an organization invests trillions of money, billions of money, obviously it has to establish a critically advantageous position over its rivals. Every organization tries to establish its uniqueness, USP, unique selling proposition, whether it is Vodafone, whether it is Nokia, whether it is Microsoft, whether it is Apple, whatever may be the company, whether it is Mercedes-Benz. Since the Mercedes-Benz is not having so much of appeal, it cannot ignore the market of Indian companies, Indian subcontinent. That is why it has to take control over all the situations. In the same way, the strategy can be also termed as a long-term blueprint. It is always future-oriented. It is always focusing on the future, where the organization wants to be, how we can reach that place like that. Similarly, it is a common thread. Strategy is a common thread about organization's activities. It is a guiding force. We can say guiding force for all the functional managers. And it is a unified and comprehensive and integrated plan designed to assure basic objectives of an enterprise are achieved. Because the strategy will differ from one organization to another organization. So the organization's objective may be different. Organization, a new startup business enterprise objectives may be different, and the established enterprise objectives may be different. So the strategy will enable to achieve these objectives. So the strategies are always planned and partially. So obviously, we have the knowledge and the actual company strategy. So planned strategies also are there, reactive strategies also are there. So you have planning a strategy, and you cannot keep that is the strategy, I am not going to change. But because the environment is dynamic, you are based upon the environmental scanning, you have planned for some strategies. And if the environment changes accordingly, your strategy has to change. That is where the reactive strategy. And coming to the next topic, the corporate strategy. Before that corporate strategy, I would like to mention one thing: the management. The management. What is that management? It is the responsibility, and it is a function. Management is a function, a discipline, and a task to be done. I repeat, management is a function and a discipline and a task to be done, and a group of people popularly known as managers doing this function, discipline, and the task for the purpose of discharging the responsibilities, for the purpose of achieving the organizational goals. So here we merge both the disciplines, strategy and management, leading to a new discipline called strategic management. Yes, I have started in my opening remarks. When we are talking about the organization as a multi-billion company form of organizations, so that is why a strategy applicable for a corporate type of organization, very big organization, we call it as a corporate strategy, wherein a corporate strategy is always a long range in nature, and it is action oriented, more specific than objectives, and multi-pronged and integrated, and flexible and dynamic, because future is uncertain. Because yes, you are mentioning that that there is environmental influences is keep on dynamic. So obviously the strategy should be obviously flexible and dynamic, and it is always formulated at the top management and middle level management and the lower level management. Though they are having the input, they can give the inputs to the top level management, and they have to implement these strategies. And same way, these strategies are meant for coping with the competitive and complex setting. And once again, it is a corporate strategy flows out of the goals of the organization, and concerned with the opportunities and this thing.
Gives importance to combination, sequence, timing, direction, and depth of various moves and actions initiatives. provides unified criteria for managers in functioning of the design. In total, we can say the corporate strategy is the roadmap of the organization. Then nature and scope and concerns of corporate strategy. Corporate are basically concerned with the choices of businesses, products, and markets. What kind of businesses, then what kind of products, then in which markets. Strategy, corporate strategy can be viewed as the objective strategy design of the firm. As I already told you, it's a roadmap of the business. It designs for filling the firm strategy planning gap. Whatever the gap here in the strategic planning, it designs for that. Ensures the right fit, right path between the firm and its environment, just to minimize the gap between the requirements and what input and output. It helps in building the relevant competitive advantages. Basically, the strategy is only we use usually the strategy words where the competitive advantages occurs.
For an organization, the corporate competitive advantage, the student must know the competitive advantage is meeting the expectations of the customers and exceeding the expectations. Then only you will maintain the competitive advantage, because competitive advantage means which your competitor cannot do. That is called competitive advantage. And once again, this nature of corporate strategy is it is concerned with the firm's product and the markets, and corporate objectives and corporate strategy is together the firm's concept of business. So both the corporate objectives and the corporate strategy fulfills the firm's concept of business, what the business, the organization wants to achieve. So for example, a Tata Steel, the students may know what is the strategy of the Tata Steel adopted where as far as the marketing of product is concerned. It is domestic focused in India. It is focused on quality, product quality. It is concerned with the work closely with the customers and offer them an array of services rather than just selling the products. That is where the concept of competitive advantage is coming. Similarly, the Tata Steel is having a financing strategy. What is a financing strategy? You need money for investment, for your business expansion, for your diversification and backward integration and forward integration. How the money is going to come, that is called the financing strategy.
Like procurement of funds as well as utilization of funds.
Utilization of funds is nothing to do with the financing. Utilization of funds is investment.
The funds.
This financing is procurement, and they are focused on internal cash generations. So, for example, they are not talking about immediately going for equity investment, equity issue. They are not interested in borrowing money as and when they require. They first focus on the internal accruals, and then they will go for this thing. So, normally that is coming to this strategic management. As I have mentioned, it is a combination of strategy and the management. So, it is a process of strategic vision and setting objectives, and grafting strategy, and implementing and executing the strategy, and then over times initiating wherever corrective adjustment. It is a continuous process. The next slide will give you the framework. First, you are
where you have to start. It is beginning to ending exercises from where we have to start. Then in the second stage, where we want to be, where we want to, then how might we get there? Means there are so many methods. You have to evaluate which one is the best. There are so many options. You have to opt the best one, and then to get what you had set it. Then importance of strategic management.
So there's obviously, since we are having a subject is strategic management. Strategic management becomes proactive rather than reactive. Proactive means so you have to foresee the future, and prepare your organization to withstand that environmental changes. And all this framework for the business decisions, enterprises, or product, products, markets, manufacturing facilities, investments, and organizational structure. Everything is influenced by the strategic management. And as far as the further importance is concerned, it is preparing the face the future and acts as a pathfinder, as you have rightly pointed out by Dr. Ruchi, that it is the future oriented. And it is a corporate defense mechanism against mistakes and pitfalls, because you are foreseeing the environment and you are planning the organizations for that foreseeable future, so that errors and mistakes can be minimized rather than completely avoiding. And it is also core competencies, as I was mentioning, that competitive advantage. It is very much necessary for long-term survival. If you are having an advantage of today, if you are not maintaining a competitive advantage, or if you are maintaining a core competencies. What is the core competencies? Over a period of time, yes, certain competencies emerge to an organization. Say, for example, Reliance Industries Limited. The core competency is project implementation. You give them 1 lakh crore worth investment and give them the time frame of 3 years. They will complete the project within 2 years, within that budget. Say, for example, L&T, Larsen and Toubro, the project management. They are constructing metro lines and very big buildings, very big, that minimum worth of the project is 1,000 crores. They are telling, they are minimizing the number of days to be completed this thing, which means the competencies are in project management, engineering management. Similarly, the next stage is strategic decision making. The decision making is a managerial process. This is a general awareness. Decision making is a managerial process, because you have certain choices. You have certain choices and you have to choose the particular course of action of available alternatives for the purpose of accomplishment of organizational goals, which means organizational goals has to be achieved. In order to achieve that organizational goals, so you have certain alternative courses of action. Out of this alternative courses of action, you are selecting the best one. That is called strategic business.
Like you have selected the CA course as the best one. You have so many alternatives after 12th, but you have selected the CA course. That is, you have taken a decision. The major decisions of strategic decisions dimensions are strategic issues require top management decision. Obviously, it is a top management processing. It involves allocation of large amount of company resources, whatever the resources might be, the finance resources, the human resources, the marketing resources. It requires allocation of all the resources so that we can utilize the resources to a optimum level. It also have a significant impact on the long-term prosperity of the firm. Obviously, if you are strategically fit, if you are strategically well, then only the business or organization can able to sustain for the future.
So, for example, we have discussed about the Tata Steel issue, Tata Steel's financing strategy. Obviously, when the organization fully depending upon internal accruals, the cost of capital will come down. When the cost of capital comes down, the beneficiary will be the equity shareholders. The market price will increase. In other things remaining the same. When other things remain the same, when the cost of capital comes down, because you are utilizing the internal accruals for your expansions, obviously it will be beneficial for the organizations. Similarly, the strategic management or strategic issues are future oriented. Always it is oriented towards future and multifunctional and business consequences. So, for example, environmental policy of Tata Steel. Obviously, whether it is marketing, whether it is a personnel, whether it is production, whether it is a purchase, whatever activities are concerned, it will be influenced through the environmental policy. In the same way, it is a firm's external environment. So, without taking into consideration your external environment, you cannot formulate a strategy. That is the gist of this thing. So, that strategic management model, as we have seen in the previous thing, it deals with the vision and mission.
Then the objectives. There is a process. Vision and mission. First, we should prepare the vision and mission of the organization. Then objectives. Then after that, generate, analyze, and select the strategies. What kind of strategies and what strategies we are going to opt. Then implement these all the strategies which we have taken. Then like marketing strategies, finance strategies, accounting, research and development, human resource, whatever the financing, whatever the functional strategies, all the functional. Then only after implementing all the functional strategies, we are able to get something, and then we have to measure and evaluate the performance. If the performance is brilliant, then our cycle will becomes again starts, and we again has to visualize the vision and mission. There is an external and internal both audits within the organization. There is a examination, and outside the organization, like customers and all the feedback, kind of feedback what we are getting. By this, we again we have to again prepare the vision and mission for that. Sir wants to say something on it?
See, basically, Ruchi, one small correction to the students. More or less, the vision and the mission will remain static, unless there is the requirement to change that vision. Because of your evaluating the performance, normally the vision and the mission remain the static. So you are doing an external audit and internal audit about your capabilities and here it is not the financial audit. It is not a financial audit. It is a scanning. We have introduced the concept called environmental scanning. It is macro and this is micro. So internal audit is a micro environment audit, and the external audit is a macro environment audit, so that you establish long-term objectives. And our familiar topic of vision and mission and objectives. See, as far as the vision is concerned, it is a strategic vision. It is a roadmap of a company's future. Because there are a number of queries from the students. What is the difference between the vision and mission? See, the vision is always a future. It is always, you keep it in mind. It is a future of that future, what the company want to achieve in the future. That is called vision. And it is specifies about the technology and the customer focus, geographic and product markets to be pursued, and the capabilities it plans to develop, and the kind of company that management is trying to reach. That is called vision. Yes, Ruchi, you are having some point.
Yes, sir. I just want to share, most of the students ask many queries related to the difference between vision and mission. So my focus is little bit on that. I just want to give the answer that mission is for present. Always remember, mission is on present. Mission concentrates on present, but vision always concentrates on future. Second thing, mission tells you the fundamental purpose of the organization. For what purpose the organization is made. But mission shows you the path, as sir also mentioned that mission or vision outlines what the organization wants. I repeat, mission tells you the fundamental purpose of the organization, but vision outlines what the organization wants. Vision is for future, mission is for present.
Similarly, just to supplement Dr. Ruchi's observation on mission, it is also present. Mission is always a business person's scope. Who are and what we do. That is called a mission. Mission statement broadly describes the present capabilities, customer focus, and business. I am having some examples. Let us see. And as far as the objectives are concerned, performance target. It is very simple. Compared to mission and vision, objectives are the performance targets, whether it is a 10% return on equity, whether it is 25% on capital employed, whether it is a 2% turnover ratio, whether it is a current ratio, whatever these performance targets, these are all explicit, and compared to vision and mission, they are less complicated. Now, coming to vision versus mission of State Bank of India. What is the vision of State Bank of India? It is my customer first, my SBI first in customer satisfaction. Everyone should own that SBI. Everyone should know it is my SBI. Because they want to reach the general public, they want to reach to the one way or the other, whether it is a deposit holder or a loan or whatever may be the case, everyone should know SBI is my SBI, and the customer first and the customer satisfaction first. It is vision. What about the mission of SBI? Same State Bank of India. We will be prompt, polite, and proactive with our customers. Every day they have to be prompt and polite with the customers. They will speak the language of young India, because India is dominated by young people like our students. So they will always speak the young India, and they will create products and services that will help our customers achieve their goals, like that. The internet banking, whether it is a debit card or credit card, and so on and so forth. Similarly, I have collected the India Post. What is that? The India Post? It is a public sector undertaking. What is the vision? India Post products and services will be the customer's first choice. That should be the first choice. That is the vision of India Post. And what is the mission? To sustain its position as the largest, sustaining. It is because already it is established the largest postal network in the world. They want to sustain, they want to continue. And they want to provide mail, parcel, money transfer, banking, insurance, with the speed and reliability. They want to give their services with the speed and reliability, and like that, customer on value for money basis, and the employees are proud to be the main strength. They are focusing on employees, that they should be proud to be the India Post employees, and the social security services like India platform, like recently that. Pension plans have given, public provident fund is administered by them, savings bank account is administered by them, like that. Social security message, like LIC. What is the LIC? Transnationally competitive business financial conglomerate. Whereas the mission is ensure and enhance the quality of life through financial security. This is the vision, and once again the objectives of LIC is also there. Spread life insurance widely, maximum mobilization of people's savings, bear in mind the investment of funds, conduct of business with utmost economy. These are all the objectives of this thing. So these are all the activities that LIC's objectives. And coming to the next topic, namely
that is levels of strategic management in organization. In every organization, there are 3 levels. In general terms, you can say the top level, middle level, and lower level. But in strategic management term, the corporate level, which is made up of top level, then the business level, which is divisional heads, then the functional level, functional managers. At corporate level, there are CEOs, CFOs, board of directors, and other senior executives and the staff members of the organization. At business level, all the divisional managers like financial manager, marketing manager, and at the lower level, functional level, there are different divisional, sub-divisional managers. So after
similarly, I have given for the benefit of the students, I have taken a practical case study. Like I have downloaded the organization structure of the ONGC, Oil and Natural Gas Commission, that CMD and all these people are the, we can call it as a top
corporate
level, and this is the middle level. The second line is middle level, and below that operational level is the lower level or functional level. Whatever the top level management and middle level management gives the direction, the lower the people, it will come. So the yes, Ruchi, you want to give something?
Actually, this one is the top level management. Then there is a divisional level management: director offshore, director onshore, director exploration, director HR, director finance, director marketing, director technical head. This is all about the middle one, divisional. Then this is functional.
So that as far as the differences between the strategic management decisions at different levels, these are all the characteristics like type, measurability, frequency, relation to present risk, profit potential, cost, time horizon, and flexibility. These are all the characteristic of differences between the various levels of management. And this is corporate level, business level, and the function level, which we have explained in the previous thing. So these are all very conceptual, judgment, periodic, innovative. It is innovative and wide range because it will affect the entire business enterprise.
These are the key ones.
Key ones, and high and considerable. And business, it is basically a type is mixed decision making, semi-quantifiable, periodical, and mixed and moderate. And profit potential is medium because since they are only implementing the corporate level objectives. And the functional, they have very little on their profit potential, and the cost is modest, and the flexibility and the cooperation required is very, very less. Whereas the top management is very, very important as far as the strategic decision making is concerned. And to conclude, I take this opportunity to thank the students who have participated in large numbers from throughout the country for this e-learning, and I also thank the IT team of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for their excellent cooperation and presentation about these PowerPoint presentations and e-learning. And particularly, I am very much thankful to the students who have sent their queries. They sent their queries and
listen to us very patiently. That is very, very important.
And the email ID of the Board of Studies, bos@noida.ica.in. We are always available for your.
You can also queries. Send your queries on our email ID. This is Sir's email ID, tparamasivam@ici.in, and this is mine, ruchi.gupta@ici.in. We are here always for the students. So anytime students can send their queries, whatever the queries you have related to your strategic management, we will definitely revert back to you as soon as possible.
And I wish you all the best of luck and best wishes for your forthcoming examinations. Those who are preparing for November examinations, our sincere prayers and best wishes that you should adopt an appropriate strategy to manage all your intermediate examinations so that you will come out with the flying colors. Wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.
We will come with some other topics next time, most likely by chapter 3 or 4 as we will discuss, and we will told you shortly on that regard. Thank you once again for listening us patiently.